When I surprised my fiancée with a new apartment, she whispered to her bridesmaid, "Perfect, easier for my ex to visit." They both laughed. I heard every word. 2 days later, she was locked out of the lease she never signed. The look on her face was perfect. Pure, unadulterated joy. It was the look I had been working towards for 6 months, the culmination of late nights at work and extra weekend shifts. I had just unlocked the door to a brand new top-floor apartment with a view that stretched across the entire city and handed the keys to my fiancée, Amber. "Surprise," I said, and for a second, seeing her eyes light up, I actually felt like it was all worth it. "Oh my God, Mark," she breathed, walking through the door. "You did this for us?" Her maid of honor and best friend, Jenna, followed her in, her own jaw practically on the floor. They ran from room to room, squealing about the walk-in closet, the massive kitchen island, the balcony that was bigger than Amber's entire current living room. This was the plan, the grand gesture, the place we were supposed to start our married life together in 3 months. I had signed the lease, paid the security deposit, and the first month's rent, all from my own savings, all in my name only. It was a surprise after all. "I'm just going to grab the champagne from the car," I said, feeling like the king of the world. I left them to explore and headed back down to the garage. It took me a minute to find the cooler in the trunk. When I got back to the apartment, the door was slightly ajar. I could hear them talking inside, their voices low and excited. I was about to push the door open and make my grand entrance with the champagne when I heard my name. I froze, my hand hovering over the doorknob. It was Jenna's voice, a conspiratorial whisper. "I can't believe he actually pulled this off. It's huge. So, what are you going to do about Kyle?" Kyle, her ex-boyfriend? The one she swore was just a friend. The one she still texted constantly. The one I had a permanent knot in my stomach about. Amber's reply came, followed by a light, tinkling laugh that sounded completely different from the one she had used with me moments earlier. "What do you mean? This is perfect. My place was so small. It was always a hassle for him to visit when Mark was out of town." "This is so much easier," Jenna snickered. "Oh, you are terrible. He'll never know," Amber said dismissively. "He's so wrapped up in work and wedding planning, he wouldn't notice if Kyle was sleeping on our couch." The champagne bottle in my hand suddenly felt like it weighed $1,000 B. The entire world tilted on its axis. Every doubt I had ever pushed down, every red flag I had ever ignored, all of it came crashing down on me in that one gut-wrenching moment. She didn't see a home. She saw a more convenient place to cheat on me. My grand gesture wasn't a foundation for our future. It was an upgrade for her affair. I backed away from the door silently. I stood in the hallway for what felt like an hour, my heart pounding in my ears. The sound of their laughter echoed from inside the apartment. My apartment. I took a deep breath, composed myself, and plastered a smile on my face. Then I walked in. "Who's ready for a toast?" I said, holding up the bottle. Update 1. The next 48 hours were a performance. I was the happiest, most devoted fiancé in the world. We celebrated all weekend. I listened to Amber talk endlessly about furniture and paint colors. I watched as she took dozens of pictures, posting them on social media with captions like, "The home of our dreams. I'm the luckiest girl in the world. Future Mrs. Miller." She was so high on her victory, so confident in my cluelessness, that she didn't notice the change in my eyes. She didn't notice that I had stopped touching her, that my smiles didn't quite reach my ears, that I was observing her like a scientist studying a particularly venomous snake. While she was busy planning her new life, I was busy dismantling it. My first call on Monday morning was to the building manager. I explained the situation briefly and professionally. "The engagement has been called off due to unforeseen circumstances," I said. "The lease is solely in my name and my fiancé will not be moving in. I need to have the locks on Unit 1201 changed immediately. I will be the only person with the key." The manager was understanding. He had seen it all before. He said he could have a locksmith there by 5 that evening. Perfect. My second call was to the moving company I had hired to move our things from our separate apartments the following weekend. I canceled the service, forfeiting the deposit. It was a small price to pay. My third call was to my lawyer. I told him everything, including what I had overheard. He advised me on the next steps, confirming that since Amber was not on the lease and had never established residency, I was within my rights to deny her access. He also suggested I start separating our finances immediately. That afternoon, while Amber was at work, I did just that. I closed the joint bank account we used for wedding planning, an account I had funded almost entirely. I canceled the supplementary credit card she used for everything from gas to groceries. I went to the jeweler who was holding our wedding bands and canceled the order. Amber had already started moving some of her personal belongings into the new apartment over the weekend. A few boxes of clothes, some expensive designer bags, her laptop. She wanted to get a head start, she said. So, on my way to the apartment to meet the locksmith, I stopped and rented a 5x5 storage unit at a facility a few blocks away. I paid for 1 month in her name. At the apartment, I took every single item of hers and carefully moved it to the new storage unit. I took pictures of everything as it went in, documenting that nothing was damaged. I left the unit unlocked with a new padlock sitting inside on top of her boxes. Then the locksmith arrived and changed the locks. I took the old keys, the ones I had so proudly given her 2 days before, and I dropped them into a nearby sewer grate. I went home to my old apartment, the one I was supposed to be moving out of, and I waited. The call came around 8 that night. It was Amber, and she was furious. "My key isn't working," she yelled. "I went to drop off another box and I can't get in. Did you forget to give me the right one?" "No, Amber, that key is obsolete." "What does that mean? What's going on?" "The doorman said a locksmith was here earlier." "That's right," I said. "I had the locks changed. You don't live there." There was a moment of pure, baffled silence. "What are you talking about?" "Of course I live there. We're moving in this weekend." "No," I said, my voice cold and even. "We are not. I overheard you, Amber. I was at the door. I heard you and Jenna talking. I heard all about Kyle and how this new apartment would be so much easier for him to visit." The silence this time was different. It was the silence of a cornered animal. You heard that?" she stammered. Every word, every laugh. "So, here's the new plan. You are not my fiancé anymore. You are not moving into my apartment. And we are done. Your belongings, the ones you moved in, are in a storage unit. I'm texting you the address and the unit number right now. The rest of your things are still at your old place. I suggest you call your landlord and see if it's too late to reverse your notice." "You can't do this!" she shrieked, the panic finally setting in. "My name is on the lease." "No, it's not." I said, "Go ahead and check. The lease is in my name. The deposit was my money. The rent was paid from my account. You have absolutely no legal right to that apartment. You are a guest who is invited, and now you are uninvited. Goodbye, Amber." I hung up and immediately blocked her number. Then I blocked Jenna. The war I knew was just beginning. Update 2. The fallout was even more chaotic than I had anticipated. Amber and Jenna, deprived of direct access to me, went on the offensive. They launched a full-scale smear campaign across every social media platform and to every mutual friend we had. The story they spun was a work of fiction. According to them, I was a manipulative monster who had lured Amber into a false sense of security with a new apartment, only to cruelly rip it away and throw her out on the street for no reason. All because of an innocent out-OFC context joke they had shared. They conveniently left out the part about Kyle. My phone started blowing up with texts from people I barely knew, calling me a villain. Amber's mother called me, screaming about how I had destroyed her daughter's life and that they were going to sue me for everything I had. Her father sent a long, threatening email promising to ruin me professionally. I didn't respond to any of it. Instead, I executed the second phase of my plan. I had one crucial piece of evidence they didn't know about. The apartment building had a high-tech security system, including audio recording in the common areas for resident safety. The hallway outside my apartment door was a common area. I had my lawyer send a formal request to the building management for the audio recording from that specific time and date. They complied. The recording was crystal clear. You could hear Jenna asking about Kyle. You could hear Amber's giddy, treacherous reply. You could hear their laughter. I drafted a single simple email. The recipients were every single person who had been invited to our wedding, including Amber's entire family. The subject line was, "An important correction regarding my breakup with Amber." The body of the email was short. It said, "There's been a lot of misinformation circulating about the end of my engagement to Amber. I believe in transparency, so I am providing the facts." Below is a link to a short audio file which was recorded in a common area of my new apartment building. It contains the conversation that led to my decision. I believe it will answer any questions you may have. I attached the audio file and hit send. The effect was instantaneous. It was like dropping a bomb in the middle of their pity party. The angry texts and calls stopped. They were replaced by a wave of apologies from friends who had believed her story. People were horrified. The raw, undeniable proof of her betrayal was irrefutable. Amber and Jenna deleted their social media accounts within hours. Her parents stopped calling. Their threats were empty, and they knew it. They had no legal leg to stand on, and now they had no social standing either. They had been exposed as liars and cheats. A few days later, I got a call from Amber's landlord. She had, in fact, given notice on her old apartment, and it had already been rented to someone else. She was, for all intents and purposes, homeless. She had apparently been staying on Jenna's couch, but that situation was imploding quickly as Jenna was now being ostracized by her own friends for her role in the deception. Amber's parents had to rent a U-Haul and move her things out of the storage unit and back into her childhood bedroom. The girl who was supposed to be starting a new life in a luxury apartment was now at 30 years old back to living under her parents' roof, surrounded by posters of boy bands from her teenage years. Final update. It's been 6 months. I live in the new apartment alone, and I've never been happier. The space, which was once tainted by her betrayal, now feels like a sanctuary. It's a testament to my ability to build a life for myself by myself. The wedding, of course, never happened. I was able to get some of the deposits back, but I lost a significant amount of money. I don't even care. I consider it the price of my freedom, a cheap price to pay to have avoided a lifetime of deceit. Amber's life, from what I've heard, is a mess. She and Jenna are no longer friends. The pressure of the scandal combined with the stress of Amber living on her couch caused a massive fight that ended their friendship for good. Jenna apparently blamed Amber for dragging her into her mess and ruining her reputation. Kyle, the mysterious ex, vanished the second the drama started. He was never a serious contender for her affection. He was a thrill, an ego boost, a secret she kept for fun. He wanted a side piece, not a broke, homeless, and publicly shamed girlfriend. He ghosted her completely. Amber is still living with her parents. She had to get a job as a waitress to pay for her car and her credit card debt. I heard through the grapevine that she is bitter and angry, constantly complaining to anyone who will listen about how I ruined her life. She has taken zero accountability for her own actions. In her mind, she is still the victim. A couple of months ago, I was at a hardware store on a Saturday morning picking up some things for the apartment. I turned a corner and almost ran right into her. She was with her mother, and she looked diminished. The confident, radiant woman I had once known was gone, replaced by someone who looked tired and angry. She saw me, and for a second her eyes widened in a flash of panic. Then it hardened into a glare. Her mother started to say something, but Amber just grabbed her arm and pulled her away, practically running to the other side of the store. That was it. No screaming, no confrontation, just a silent, pathetic retreat. My revenge wasn't loud or explosive. It was quiet, efficient, and absolute. I didn't have to ruin her reputation. I just provided the platform for her to ruin it herself. I didn't have to make her homeless. I just refused to provide her with a home to cheat on me in. I simply took away the safety net she thought would always be there, and I let her fall. She didn't just lose a fiancé in an apartment. She lost the comfortable, easy life she had taken for granted. And she has no one to blame but herself. That, to me, is the most satisfying outcome of